and welcome to Huddle. If you're new here, and if you're not, welcome back. Y'all know we come to Huddle to give y'all the latest information. But before we get into our opening prayer and scripture, I would like to recognize that Wednesday, May 25th, marks the 2-year Remembrance Day of George Floyd's death. And shout out to the Floyd family, and especially his brother Terrence Floyd, who is a lifetime member of NAN. Yay! So now I would like to introduce our lifetime member of NAN, Sister Word, for our opening prayer. Clap it up.
Thank you, God, for this day that you have made. We, in the name of Christ Jesus, will do our best to rejoice and be glad in this day you have made. We thank you for the diversity of people who want justice and want peace, and who are working for justice and working for peace. We thank you for people who are trying to live their normal lives in a time of so much turmoil, trusting that you will get us through each day according to your will. We know that you're good all the time and you love us all the time. And we thank you for giving us the reminder on a regular basis. Yes, there's some bad news here and there, but there's so much more good news. With people living their best lives they can under the circumstances, knowing that your love is forever and that we could trust you forever and that we will do our best to work together, understanding that diversity is here to stay. Diversity of people is here to stay because you made people diverse. We thank you for the love that you instilled in each and every one of us, and we pray that you help us grow to share that love in the name of Christ Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Sister Word. Now I would like to call up Katrina Jefferson for our scripture. No kitty this time.
We're training her. She gotta learn early. Um, Title. Katrina, good evening, everyone. Katrina Jefferson, I'm Senior Liaison to Reverend Sharpton, and I oversee the House of Justice. And today's scripture for tonight comes from Philippians 4, verses 4 through 9, and we're reading from the New International Version, or the NIV version for the church folk. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, key word, that petition is crucial, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. May the Lord bless the reading and hearing of his word. Amen.
Now for our chair and director reports, I would like to call up Director Dominique Sharpton.
Thank you. Good evening, Huddle. All right, so I'm going to read share some of our action alerts. As many of you know, National Action Network releases action alerts every Friday to keep people in the know of what National Action Network is doing across the country. This past week, Reverend Sharpton demands that this must stop. Just days after 10 people were brutally gunned down at a Tops supermarket in Buffalo, New York, Reverend Sharpton journeyed to the city to comfort the families and to declare that racist attacks against minoritized communities has to come to an end. He said that this must stop, and we are the ones to stop it. In the wake of the shooting, Reverend Sharpton and other civil rights leaders called on the Biden administration to convene a summit to address the growing wave of assaults on Black bodies. This is an assault on all of us, Reverend Sharpton said at a vigil that took place on Thursday at Antioch Baptist Church. They did not shoot these victims because of who they were. They shot them because of what they were. They were guilty of being black, which means that the gun that was shot at them was shot at all of us. National Action Network has agreed to help cover the funeral costs for the 10 victims, many of which will be held this week in Buffalo, New York. And he said, we're going to keep going. We're going to be at some of the funerals and whatever the families need us to do. The families of Andre McNeil, Geraldine Talley, and Ruth Whitfield were at the event, sharing stories of their loved ones who died on last Saturday and expressing gratitude to National Action Network for supporting them during these challenging times. Earlier this week, Reverend Sharpton told MSNBC's Morning Joe that leaders need to address the root causes of the mass shooting in Buffalo, including the proliferation of hate and violent messages on social media. We need a White House summit. We need to set a national strategy on how we deal with hate and how we hold those accountable who in any way advance what happened in Buffalo. He said it didn't just drop out of the sky. It happened because it was methodically organized. And also I wanted to share that this week we will also be starting and launching a food distribution in the city of Buffalo, New York. National Action Network has partnered with World Central Kitchen and many of the community organizations on the ground, and we'll be kicking off a weekly food distribution. As many of you know, the disparities of food insecurity in the city had already existed, and so with the tragedy that happened in that top supermarket, it has really caused, a fear amongst the people of Buffalo to be able to go out to get groceries. And so NAN is making that more accessible for the people of Buffalo by, having free groceries that will be available to the community starting on this Wednesday. And it will happen every Wednesday to follow. And it will be happening at the Greater Works Christian Fellowship in Buffalo, New York. There is already a food pantry that's in the works at Greater Works Christian Fellowship, and now NAN will be adding on to those efforts starting Wednesday and moving on periodically every Wednesday. So Katrina, myself, Ashley, and Minister Stephen Marshall will be heading down to Buffalo tomorrow to kick those efforts off on Wednesday. So please pray our safe travels. And as always, we're always representing NAN and National Action Network's Youth Huddle in all that we do. The new documentary, there's a new documentary on Reverend Sharpton that's going to be premiering this year at the Tribeca Film Festival. The documentary is titled Loud Mouth, and it's a documentary chronicling Reverend Sharpton's rise from pastoral prodigy to a national civil rights figure. It has been announced as the closing piece at the Tribeca Film Festival. Reverend Sharpton will take part in a conversation during the world premiere. But since bursting into the headlines in New York City in the late 1980s, preacher and activist Reverend Sharpton has been at the center of the national conversation around race. In the aftermath of George Floyd's horrific murder in 2020, the veteran civil rights leader has further expanded the reach of his powerful bullhorn against America's deafening complacency in the fight against racial injustice, amplifying the ugly truths about the ongoing impact of structural racism on this nation many would prefer to ignore. The film features never-before-seen footage and unprecedented access. Written, directed, and produced by Josh Alexander, produced by Daniel Shalfin, Mike Jackson, and Kadar Massenberg. Loud Mouth will screen at the Tribeca Film Festival on June 18th. Go ahead, Reverend Sharpton. And I want to acknowledge the featured archivist of the film is none other than our very own Ashley Sharpton, who was responsible for gathering all of the amazing footage that brought this film together. So Ashley definitely has been working hard on this film, And Loudmouth will be premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival on June 18th. So stay tuned for more information because we will all be invited to be a part of that special night. And many of you know the Tribeca Film Festival is probably one of the most prestigious film festivals in the world. And so to have Reverend Sharpton's documentary premiering and closing out that festival is huge, monumental. And so we all want to be a part of that. And congratulate Reverend Sharpton on his great work. And we're thankful that it is now starting to be cataloged and screened and available for our young people and generations to come to learn about the work that Reverend Sharpton has done. So this is great for Nan, great for Reverend Sharpton, and I want you all to congratulate him when you see him. Say, congratulations, Rev. Loudmouth sounds huge. We can't wait to be a part of it. All right, thank y'all. I'll be back later on in the program.
Thank you, Ms. Dominique. Now, I would like to call our Youth Huddle member, Pinnacle, for our Black History Fact of the Day.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So, the Black History Fact of the Day is, this day in Black history, May 23rd, 1975, Jackie Moms, Mabley pioneer, stand-up comedian, died. She died today. Let's have a moment of silence for her real quickly. Thank you. Jackie Moms Mabley was a trailblazing stand-up comic achieving great professional and commercial success in an age where there were few Black women in the field of comedy. She was born Loretta Mary Aiken in 1894 in Brevard, North Carolina. At the age of 15, she ran away from home and went to Cleveland with the Traveling Minstrel Show, where she began singing and entertaining. By the 1950s, Mabley had become one of the most popular and successful women comics in the nation, earning $10,000 a week at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. Let's clap it up for her. She recorded more than 20 albums of various comedy routines. Some of her most successful albums were Moms Mabley at the UN, which was recorded in 1961, and Moms Mabley Breaks It Up, which was recorded in the following year. Giselle, do you know what the UN stands for? Yes, that's correct, United Nations. In 1969, she recorded a satirical song, Abraham, Martin, and John, which hit number 35 on the Billboard charts, making her the oldest person ever to have a top 40 hit. I'm sorry, that's funny to me because the Billboard is like it's information for artists who want to make music, and if you're on the Billboard, that's like a really amazing thing. So that's good for her as well. At 81 years old, Mabley died on May 23rd, 1975 of heart failure. She left an estate of more than $500,000. Let's clap that up. See one of her classic moments below from 1948, which we'll probably see later. I'll show it to you all later. But this concludes the Black History Fact of the Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Pinnacle, putting me on a spot like that. I enjoyed that. So we have no action reports from our liaisons and advisors today. So with that being said, I would like to invite Arnold Penix, who's the head of Arts and Culture, for his Artivism segment, and Daniel.
No peace.
No peace.
No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? 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 Fist bump the person next to you and tell them you love them. And that's, of course, every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 11 at the House of Justice, the Saturday morning rally with a keynote address by Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, and we go doing a highlight, and he talked about having boots on the ground, pulling together unity. We are in a crisis situation. Black bodies are being taken, so we definitely want you to be a part of unifying and coming together to protect our own and protect our communities and protect our culture. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over. We need to see who the enemy is, and the enemy is getting ready to be exposed to you right now. We're going to turn it over to our liaison, I guess, our artivism here, Rep. Mr. Daniel.
Salutations, salutations, salutations. As you may or may not know, I'm the creative contributor at the moment. And we are discussing what's going on with the alleged gunman. The alleged gunman, according to ABC 7 News, is a youth. Now, it's a little difficult for me to put this on perspective because a lot of y'all are youth. This gentleman is said to be 18 years young. Peyton Gendron, Buffalo, New York. The suspect who allegedly shot and killed 10 people in a supermarket in Buffalo, in a black community of Buffalo, appears to have been motivated by extremist beliefs and has a history of making violent threats, according to authorities. So we're going to go ahead and roll the video. It's going to give you some more information about what is going on with this particular case in that region.
I'm the United States Attorney for the Western District of New York. I want to start by saying my thoughts and heartfelt prayers go to the family, the victims, and the community that had to suffer this great and unnecessary tragedy today. We're working with our state, federal, and local law enforcement partners, as you've already heard from, to ensure that justice is brought to this community, to those victims, to their families. The United States Attorney's Office will be investigating this case along with our law enforcement partners as a hate crime and domestic violent extremism. I'm in touch with the highest levels of the Department of Justice. Resources will be put behind this investigation. Whatever we need, we will not stop until justice is brought to this community, those families, and the victims of this horrific crime. I can assure you, as the United States Attorney, I will bring whatever resources we need to this community to make sure that justice is done. This should never happen to anyone in any community. It surely shouldn't happen on a beautiful Saturday when people are just shopping and going through normal life events. We will ensure that the perpetrator of this victim is given justice, and justice will be done for this community.
Everyone stand, please. So we're calling to action. You can turn it off. And in my own voice, we're going to go, no justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold Penix and Daniel, and etc. So now I would like to call Aaliyah up for our membership and text alerts.
Thank you. Is everybody an updated member for the year of 2022? Raise your hands. It's not enough hands. Have you renewed your membership? If not, this applies to you as well as those who are not members. The best way to stay informed in any action is to become a member of NAN. Stay informed about NAN events close to where you live. Text JUSTICE, followed by your state to 59769. Again, text JUSTICE, JUSTICE, followed by your state to 59769. And remember to join us every Saturday here for the Saturday Action Rally at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Now I would like to open the floor up to any good news that people may have. It could be this week, last week, today. Youth can come up first. You ready?
So my name is Ahmed Kiro Kamil. And yesterday, I actually got to go to a concert for one of my favorite artists with another NAN member, Felipe Dosa. So yeah. So his name is Fabio Foreign, and this is actually the shirt that has the tour dates on the back. And so this is his name is Fabio Foreign. His album was called The Bible, and I got to go to the concert. It was really one of the best moments of my life. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
He's wearing God's shirt on his back, literally. Pinnacle?
Speaking of artists, Friday in the afternoon, I was on the train with Aaliyah, and I met one of my favorite international artists. Well, she's not really international, but she's international to me because some people in the States know her and some people in the UK know her, which UK stands for United Kingdom. And she was on the train like a regular New Yorker, and when I saw her, I recognized her instantly, and I was in total shock, and she hugged me, and she gave me some words of wisdom, and I will forever hold that in my heart. I didn't get to take a picture with her because it was all like so sudden, and I was like just filled with joy. Also Saturday, her name is Bree Runway. Bree Runway, yeah. Saturday, I went to the beach with my friends because it was really hot. Sunday, I went with my grandmother to church, and that was nice. And upcoming, I have a cousin's birthday party, so I'm looking forward to that as well. So yeah, thank you.
My good news is actually he forgot to leave off the part when he was on the train and he saw her. They gave him 2 tickets for the show, and he was able to go to the show, and they gave him a hoodie. But my good news is on Saturday, the event that I've been planning with my new job was a success. This was the first event. Yeah. This was the first event. I got the position as campaign organizer, so this was the first event that I organized for the campaign. It was great. Senator Myrie came out and spoke. Victor Pate from the Second Chance came. He spoke very well. Monet from Societal Justice Intervention, she came and she spoke. And then we had like basketball games. Pinnacle, Felivi, and Usman came to support me too, which was really great. And then later on that day, Saturday was my grandfather and my aunt's birthday, so we had like a get together at my grandma's house. And that was the first time since like I was like 10 years old we had like a party at my grandma's house. Like when I was wearing beads and barrettes, that was the last time we had a party at my grandma's house. So it was really great seeing everybody back at my grandma's house celebrating and stuff like that. So yeah.
Congratulations to Aaliyah for her success, for her new job.
Hi, everyone. Well, I gotta keep this little ace band on for like 4 more weeks because my finger got fractured. And Sunday, I went to church with my mom, and Saturday we was just outside.
Hi, everybody. God bless everybody. I'm so glad we're here together. On Thursday, May 26th, I will be 71 years old. I have to make this real clear. I will be 71 years old and new. It's a new experience. Yes, thank you.
Congratulations. Black don't crack. I thought you was in your 40s. Patrice?
Thank you. So I just want to give a quick shout out to our founder of the NAN Youth Huddle. I was able to attend with her on Saturday. She was a part of a huge documentary which is being streamed on Peacock, and it's called The Use of Force, The Policing of America, of Black America. And she was on the panel along with Sean Bell's mother, Miss Valerie Bell, George Floyd's brother, Terrence Floyd, and the director, and also the bishop from the community church. So I want to give Ashley a shout out. She did a great job. Hopefully you guys can get to see it. And you know, the most touching part of that was everyone in the film, they have actually come through the doors of National Action Network. So to see the work is still being needed, to see that the families are still being helped is a wonderful thing. And shout out to Ashley again.
Miss Dominique.
Yes, I'll be quick, but I think this is informative. So this past weekend, I represented Nan and my family at, I don't know if y'all have heard of it, it's called Preakness. It's the very high stakes horse racing that is usually, white, rich place for people to convene and bet and do deals or whatever. A lot of things go on, but it was originally, it's over 150 years old, and it's originally a convening place for people of a certain influence who don't look like us. And so this year was the first year ever that Preakness actually activated a cultural experience for people of color to be more inclusive in the event. Historically, that's something that we've been kind of shut out from. And so this was the first year ever that they actually included a cultural experience. They had Meg Thee Stallion there, Lauryn Hill, Moneybagg Yo. They had a bunch of like Black influencers. And Kevin Liles, who is an icon in the music industry, entertainment industry, actually invited me to be a part of the event. And so I went to Baltimore, Maryland for the first time to Preakness to be a part of that first cultural experience that, you know, thankfully, because of the traction and the overwhelming, attendance that they got because of the cultural activities that was going on for the weekend, they have now implemented this cultural experience in Preakness. So it's going to be looking like Essence Festival at Preakness now moving forward. But I just wanted to, you know, I was just very thankful to be a part of that first historic cultural experience that was brought to an arena that we have for many generations have normally been shut out from. So kudos to, I did not bet, I'm not a bettor, but I did go for the experience and definitely representing Nan well. So just wanted to share that with y'all. Thank you.
Dominique, always representing Nan. So I would like to close us out. I don't know if my good news is as like good as y'all's, but school is ending for me soon. And I will be graduating in January, so I'm happy for that. Yes. So now, for our Did You Know segment, I would like to call Patrice up for her article.
Thank you, Giselle. Hello, Huddle family. Let's get into some Did You Knows. Subway shooting. Person of interest identified in shooting of Daniel Enriquez, who was randomly shot on the train at Canal Street. Everyone heard about that? Parents of 11-year-old shooting victim made an emotional plea for justice. For the first time since the 11-year-old daughter was gunned down by a stray bullet on Monday, the parents of Kahira Tay spoke out about their loss and the grief they are living with. Meanwhile, the gunman, at least 2 other people involved in the shooting, remain at large. Please have mercy on her, Kyra's father wailed Wednesday morning at the makeshift memorial that's been set up at the location where his daughter lost her life. Don't forget her, he pleaded, as a crowd of supporters responded, "We won't." They were all at a news conference at the scene in front of a nail salon in Westchester and Fox on 165th Street, and they all came together. Someone on the scooter shot the girl on Monday while aiming at a fleeing man. The Wednesday news conference was organized by City Council member Raphael Salmanaka. He was joined by Public Advocate Jamani Williams, Borough President Vanessa Gibson, Bronx District Attorney Darcel Clark, and other officials in a public call for the shooter, his accomplice, and at least one other witness to turn themselves in. Kyra was hit by a stray bullet while she walked with her cousins to the nail salon at about 4:50 on Monday. A motor scooter rolled down the sidewalk on the street with one person driving and another one seated behind him. The passenger pulled out a gun, aimed it at a man when the scooter had just passed by and fled. And to know, fast forward today, that the shooters are only 15 and 14. So it jumps into what we need to talk about, and I need to hear your thoughts in a few moments. NYC will spend $9 million on violence interrupters to curb violence on the streets. A technique that Mayor Adams has championed as part of his efforts to curb gun violence in New York may also play a role in his approach to addressing conflict in schools budget documents show. Adams has cited violence interrupters, trusted community members who fan out into neighborhoods to identify and squash conflict before it turns deadly. As keys to his plan turn to the tide of rising gun violence, he wants to make sure that they receive a $9 million budget to do the work. The group has been sending conflicted mediators into 4 Bronx schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 high schools for several years to identify kids at risk of getting drawn into violence and working with them to find alternative ways to deal with conflict. Yadira, the program supervisor, said the schools she works with finds the mediators a valuable resource, especially this year as reported physical fights and weaponing in schools have increased. They look for us. They want us to be there. The key to the success in schools is finding adult mediators who kids can relate to and don't view as part of the school. You want someone who knows what you're going through, he said. You don't want to be lectured by someone who has no clue what your life is like. So in the wake of all of this violence going on, the subway shooting, the young lady, the 11-year-old, my question to you guys is, do you think violence interrupters should have to present a report card before receiving any more funding? So come up and tell us what you think. Do you think the violence interrupters should have to present a report card before receiving any more funding?
I definitely feel like they should have to present some type of progress report on, because we know that there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. We don't know what they're doing. Like, it's not being publicized what they're doing. Like, when they're on the corners, it's no news channels on the corner, so we don't see the stuff happening behind the scenes. But we do know that the violence is increasing, and then they're getting $9 million or $9 billion, however much it was. They're getting a lot of money. So we need to see some type of, since we can't see the behind the scenes work, we need to see some type of progress to know that the money is going into the right places. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's some layers to this. So working at NAN and knowing like who the violence interrupters are, and knowing how some of them even get their funding. Like, some of them will even come here, take pictures of Huddle, and then go out and get funding. Like, that's not even a joke. That's a real fact. And so I think that what Aaliyah said was important, but I also think that there are levels to this. So you have those who are the first responders who are in the emergency rooms and stuff, like do counsel families, and we do need that. But then, like she said, you also have people, like, we know that the statistics of violence is not changing. It's actually going up in our community. And so there should be some type of accountability that they have, not even to get the funding, but to the community that they're saying that they're protecting. And so I don't know, like, there needs to have, like, not only a report card to get the funding, but they need to be having conferences and talking to us, showing us what is going on, what they're doing to continue to get support. And so I feel like we can also, as community leaders, be more supportive to these groups, because if we aren't hearing from them and we aren't seeing them out there doing what they're supposed to be doing, we need to be holding them accountable. It needs to come from us. It needs to come from the community. It needs to come from the people that they're so-called serving. And I think that there's been a lot of whitewash for them to be able to get away with getting the funding, because the funders don't really know what's going on in our community. So it needs to be having some type of pushback saying, okay, this is not happening. This is what is going on. And I think it takes for us as community leaders and as advocates and people who really believe in this to really step up and actually hold them accountable for what they're doing.
Very well said. Thank you.
So I think that a report card is necessary, but also I think that on some level, because, you know, if it's state funding, at the end of the day, it's us paying for it because it's our tax dollars paying for the funding. I think we should know what's going on, especially given that something is wrong, that doesn't seem to be working, and we know that throwing money at a problem, it doesn't necessarily change it. I feel like we should be, provided a detailed understanding of what they're doing to stop violence now, and then what they're going to do with the money to change and improve that system. Because I think right now a big problem is I feel like it's all very vague. Like, we don't know. We just know that they interrupt conflict, but how do they do it, on what frequency? We don't know any of these things. And as the people, again, paying for the service and paying for the, funneling the increase for the service, I think we deserve to know.
Thank you. Very well said.
Hi, when I heard the report, I thought about something measurable. So talk is not measurable. It's just a lot of talk. So I figured if they're getting this much money, there has to be a budget as to what dollars are being allocated for them to do what. So we hear this big sum, but what does it really apply to? Because the first thing I thought about was salaries. I couldn't think of anything else. Like, what is the money actually for? So I think the first report should be the people who allocated $9 million. What are they allocating it for? They have to just not just because money is available, then they could just give it out arbitrarily. So the first report should be from the people who have the money and they're giving the money, and for what purpose are they giving the money. Then, once the purpose of giving the money is clearly understood, how is it going to be implemented? Because I also thought about having after-school centers that are run by violence interrupters, something that really could be tangible to be looked at, participated in, and of course measured in terms of participation, in terms of information that's being given out. They could be on Facebook a few times so we could check them out that way. They should be more public in terms of what services they actually are providing to interrupt violence. And for the most part, it doesn't necessarily mean there's violence happening. It's supposed to be preventive. So if that's the way to measure it, if there's been less violence, that's measurable, and that's worthy of a report as well. So we just need more information as to what they're really about and what they plan on doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Were you coming up, Bentley? Okay. And then I'll wrap up right after you. Wow, great conversation. Thank you guys for your thoughts. You wanted to tell us what you thought about it? What's your name? Yes. Oh, hi. You want to come up back to him and just give us a few words? Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. Reverend Kennedy this past Saturday made an announcement that really I was overjoyed. And her announcement was, and I want to give the youth your credit. Like I say, I don't own y'all, but you're my future. And what happened was, he said that the Crips and the Bloods made a truce. Okay? When she made that announcement, I almost flew out my seat. The Crips and the Bloods are our young ones. They've been at war with each other for the longest kind of time. Not knowing or being aware that them fighting among themselves and killing themselves, okay? Occupying a corner, Malcolm said, territory, land, that they don't even own. But here they are killing each other, over some territory that's not theirs, and don't know they are contributing to our worst enemy, the Ku Klux Klans. All of the negative activity that we do among ourselves and to ourselves, don't forget that we're all one family. We might have different ideas about different issues and whatnot, but we're still one family. Okay? And our biggest enemy now, as a footnote, for you young ones, I want you to be aware of. The Ku Klux Klan is the oldest white racist terrorist organization in the country. Okay? The organizer of the Ku Klux, and it goes back a couple of centuries, where they started out with a couple of rednecks, but now.
That they should present a report card in order to get the money? Should they show what they're doing to get the money?
Yeah, I agree with that. And all I'm just saying, I want y'all to be aware and get yourselves together because they're not jiving.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. from the great minds. Did you want to give us a few thoughts? Not yet? Okay, that's okay. I'm not going to put you on the spot. Ahmed, come on, and then I'm going to wrap it up.
Sorry, I just wanted to say one other thing that I thought about, and obviously I just want to make it clear that I'm not speaking for Nan, and this, my views don't represent the views of Nan, of course. But I think it's nice, as somebody personally who was a bit skeptical of the potential of Eric Adams as a leader and as a mayor, I think it's nice to see him branch out from just, honing in on like social media and, how, trying, I guess, to necessarily blame the youth for the problems of the youth. I think it's nice to see him branch out and look to other solutions that include guidance instead of like banning stuff. I just think that's really cool.
Thank you so much. And just to wrap it up, just remember, we did see the Violence Interrupter groups outside when they were giving out COVID supplies and having cookouts in the park, right? That was what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? So those groups, we're looking for you. You should be out here. Summertime is coming. You should be on each corner, each park, handing out, hey, do you have your working papers? Hey, did you sign up for summer youth? Hey, what are y'all doing? We need to see what y'all are doing. Stay in the know, stay tuned, National Action Network. We're coming back for you guys. Violence Interrupters, let us see what y'all doing, or else we're going to call you to the rug. Thank you, and that wraps up my Did You Know?
Thank you, Patrice. Now I'd like to call up our Youth Huddle member, Aaliyah, for her article.
My article is named Rev. Al Sharpton Condemns Era of Hate and Vows to Support Families of Mass Shooting Victims. Attorneys for the families of victims of Saturday's mass shooting at TOPS say they will take legal action against gun manufacturers and social media companies and anyone they feel was neglectful before the mass shooting. The Reverend Al Sharpton has joined that call for accountability. He visited the TOPS on Jefferson Avenue and met with Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown and TOPS employees. Sharpton and attorneys for the victims' families are making a push not only for stricter gun laws in the U.S., but for a hate crime bill that protects African Americans to be passed. Sharpton says the organization he founded, the National Action Network, will provide financial support to the families. They will never recover from what happened. There will always be an empty seat at their table. Their holidays will be hollow, and the whole country must stand and let them know that enough is enough, Sharpton said. Sharpton and the families are calling on President Joe Biden to hold a summit on hate crimes to address what Sharpton calls an era of hate. They're demanding a black hate crime bill will be passed in Washington, similar to the legislation that was passed to support Asian Americans. There's been no real national legislation. There's been no real addressing of how we're going to monitor and stop this in advance, Sharpton said. I'm glad the president came, but we gotta do more than come. We gotta stop this, and we gotta stand with these families. The nationally recognized criminal defense attorney is also representing the families. Why is it we can't get some federal legislation passed to say that we need to have an anti-black hate crime bill, too, because our lives matter just as much as any other life, Attorney Ben Crump said. Attorneys for the families are making every indication legal action will be taken against anyone they feel are at fault or didn't see warning flags, such as gun manufacturers and social media companies. We're going to accomplish the goals for each and every one of you. We're going to fight for you. We're going to fight for all of your families, said Terry Connors, criminal defense attorney. We're going to make sure that we honor the legacy of these people who died so tragically. That legacy could lead to changes in laws or policy. Attorneys for the family say the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, which is based in Washington, D.C., will also assist the families of the victims with free legal representation. So Megan, who is not here, had a question, which was, if you had the chance to talk to President Biden, what laws would you ask him to create? Are there any laws you would ask him to change? I will repeat it. If you had the chance to talk to President Biden, what laws would you ask him to create, and are there any laws you would ask him to change?
I just wanted to say that, like, as I'm sort of growing, and I think just it's because of my just general exposure, I'm really glad to see more and more black people as I grow up, like, be sort of not be caught up in the theatrics, not be caught up in the making Juneteenth a national holiday or the hugging of the victims by Joe Biden, and really, be able to see that as fan service and then cut to the root of the issue. For me personally, I think if there's anything I would like to see changed, it would definitely be to do something to fix food deserts and to do something to just make the lower income neighborhoods more hospitable. But I think also specifically for stuff like this, I think it all starts in the school, and I think that making people more aware of racism and the different manifestations that it can have in the school is going to be really helpful, because I know that when I was going to school with white kids, we didn't have that, and as a result, people weren't really aware of the different forms of racism and how they themselves could have certain prejudices that could lead to certain things. And so I definitely think that would definitely do wonders to sort of help curb a lot of this, like these children that are growing up to be, have so much hate in their heart for people that have done nothing to them. I think that would be great.
Great response.
I don't have one law. I have multiple, but it's on like different topics. So I think there should be laws for students that want to go to school, for it to be more accessible for them and not affordable. For gun laws, for people that's underage, make it harder for them to get a gun. Make them do background checks on people. I feel like that should be into place. Also, for schools, I feel like they should have a conversation about police in schools or the proper school aides in schools, and I feel like they should also have a law where there's not a guidance counselor, but a social worker in schools. They say that there is one in every school, but I don't know that there's one in mine. I know that there's not one in mine, and I feel like they should make that accessible to every New York City school and every school all over the state. So yeah.
Good response.
I echo ACT and I echo Pinnacle, especially with education, because that's very important and they should be teaching, especially the theory that he was talking about. He basically said that he did that based off a theory. And a lot of people don't even know what it's about. So I think that should definitely be a part of it. I echo Attorney Crumpet and Sharpton in the call for an anti-black hate crime bill. We saw the AAPI community get it immediately. And I think it's asinine that they're calling for a meeting with people to say, oh yeah, we need this bill. We don't need to meet with leaders. We need the bill. So make it happen. And no, it's not going to stop hate from occurring, hate crime from occurring, but there will be some accountability. There will be something for people to be afraid about or think twice about and know that they just can't go kill people and just be like, oh, I can just go to Burger King and not really go to jail for this. There's been no accountability, period. Also, last week, Malcolm X was killed. That's what we heard from Bentley, who was in the room when he was killed. And I definitely think there should be some legislation around military-style weapons. The fact that Malcolm X was killed decades ago, with the same type of guns that we just saw this man go into Tops and kill 10 black people with. So the fact that you can use the same type of guns and do the same type of murder 70 years later, that's a problem. So there should definitely be some legislation, some accountability as far as that part. No binding an executive action. Trey said that earlier. No, he can't just fix it, but he definitely has the power to bring the people to the table to fix it. So the legislation definitely is there. People have been doing this policy work longer than everybody in this room is alive. So at the end of the day, they need to just pay attention, listen, and actually get it done. But I don't think, and I'm gonna say this, people don't want to like it, gun violence is profitable for America, and that's why we're still going through this.
Great response.
Okay, I'm gonna add on to what the other people said, because I completely agree with each and every one of them. My initial thought is pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, because I really believe those laws not being passed indicate, in my view, a serious level of disrespect. So do those laws to show you really care about black people's rights, minorities' rights, poor people's rights, and that will in some way indicate to the other people, change that level of disrespect, change it. So I would recommend those laws be added. Another thing that just right off the top, is reparations. Pay for the wrong they have done. Face that reality. That's the way you've been dealing with other people, paying for the wrong. It's never going to be an amount that can solve the problem, but you own it. You own what was wrong when you pay up. So that should be done. There's just so much that they could do. They got a lot of money for Ukraine, and God knows those people need it. But use it right here, too. Use some more money here. There's no reason there should be one tops in that Buffalo. Why just one? Stop building up a community where people can actually live and thrive. Stop, because they're playing. They still have this real shystiness about them, this real fronting. And I believe Biden still got some of that in him. I'm not going to say it any differently, but he needs to be worked. He's the president. He needs to be worked. So, of course, Reverend Al Sharpton is on point. Let's have a meeting with you, Biden, and hope you get your mind right, too. Thank you.
That's right. Great response.
What I'd like to voice to President Biden and those listeners listening is, notwithstanding the sovereignty, liberties of those citizens serving in the United States of America to protect our people and our interests, it's important for there to be more focus on domestic terrorism monitorization, reporting findings about domestic terrorism risks and dangers so that domestic terrorism will be mitigated. I understand that it may take more time than it has taken to focus, but it would be wonderful to see more focus on those types of things in the infrastructure bills, for example, federal regulation, for example, because that is one root of a lot of division amongst our United States of America and our current affairs, our foreign affairs, our world, global climate, our economic climate, our business climate, our community, and our culture, because there are time after time after time examples over centuries of domestic terrorism that has been crippling the communities that we live in and the surrounding communities that surround us. It has been debilitating due to a lack of not just accountability, but regulation and enforcement. So to not be unscathed by this is virtually impossible. It's physically impossible for the nation to not feel the effects that global white supremacy has had on the world, especially domestically. So I would like to see more laws, more federal regulation of circa white supremacist domestic terrorism to save lives and to heal our nation, because that's what we need. We've talked about reparations. We've been discussing the economic after effects of things like the transatlantic slave trade. And that's just one example of world white prejudice, white supremacy, domestic terrorism.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Great response.
Darnell Garrett, Isleen Parson grandson. Yeah, I agree with the knowledge and the laws to let us know that they do respect us. You have, the president do have power. You have the executive branch, legislation, and you have the people. We are the people, and they need to respect us, and they need to know that we are humans. We're not savages. We're not animals like they say we are. We're not. We're human beings. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, everybody that passed, Huey Newton, Bobby Seale, everybody that passed for us. We here, and we gonna stay here. So y'all need to change these laws and stop playing with us. Because when we was doing slavery, y'all said we couldn't read, right? Y'all said we can't write, we can't read. So if we learn how to read, y'all gonna kill us. So we reading now. We know what was going on. We been knew what was going on. It starts in a household. It don't start in no school. Because this weekend, one of my friends that passed, her daughter about to graduate Thurgood Marshall on 135th. And she's going to Monroe College, and her teacher said, Emmett Till don't mean nothing to her. I said, what? I'm going to go to, and my little nephew that's 16, go to that school. So I say, oh, what's your teacher name? Where you go? And I'm going there because my grandmother, a retired teacher. What the hell is wrong with her? She bugging out.
Calm it down. They tripping.
Good evening. Oh, man, I'll tell you. I'm taking a deep breath first. What can Joe Biden do? First of all of the stuff that's going on, he has executive privilege. He got a pen. All he got to do is write. That's the first thing. And being played? Yeah. You know, that bill, George Floyd bill, John Lewis bill, that should have been like out of committee and in. And if it wasn't, it could be overrode. They can override it. The president can override it. The president can sign it into law if, the Senate and Congress is not cooperating. He has that privilege. So that's the next thing needs to be pushed is, look, get off the pot and sign the damn bill. Because he is the president. He got executive privilege, and he can sign it into law. And everybody need to get on him about it because this is ridiculous. You know, Malcolm X back in the day said the bullet or the ballot. Now we've been doing the ballot. Come on now, y'all. We've been doing the ballot, and there are legal ways that we can have the bullet. All right.
Great response. To wrap this up, I agree with what everyone said. I feel like education is important. I feel like what we need in schools, we need more, I'm not gonna say resources, but we need more, I'll say resources. Everything that white schools have, we need, Gino, be respectful. Okay. Anyways, everything that these white schools have when it comes to pools, they got these big gyms, they got counselors, they got a bunch of social workers, what they call them, social, emotional, something like that, workers, that work in schools. We need all of that in our schools here. There's people who's in Buffalo, like children, daughters, nephews, nieces, whose grandparents that got shot up in there, and they're gonna have to go to school like everything is okay, like they didn't just lose their parents or their grandparents because a white boy decided to like shoot up the supermarket. So we definitely need some laws that help in schools. The anti-black hate crime bill, I feel like, in my opinion, it's just crazy to me that we gotta fight for that bill, but when Asians was like getting punched out and stuff, they got that bill like the next week, the next 2 weeks, and I feel like us as a people, we so quick to help fight for other people. We helped fight, get that bill. We was on social media blacking, we was outside for them, but now it's like a bill that we fighting for now, we all quiet, like that didn't just happen to us. Like they don't just feel comfortable. Like he drove 2 hours and shot up the supermarket, and we don't feel like we gotta go outside and make some noise and start flipping stuff. But when it was other people, we felt like we had to come to their rescue. So I definitely feel like we need to get this anti-black hate crime bill passed. We also need to get some type of bill passed that educates ourselves on our history and things like that. I don't think that we should go through things like this. I feel like we should be taught, my thoughts. What I was gonna say is educate ourselves on how to like use weapons, how to be able to defend ourselves. I don't feel like we should have, I feel like we should all have a weapon in our house, whether it's like a handgun or something, the training. I feel like there should be a law passed where it's okay for us to hold them weapons, to have them weapons, because clearly we need them to protect ourselves, and we should not be able to protect ourselves. So, this was the last response. I'm sorry, you're gonna wrap it up and go into the next Did You Know article. I'm sorry, we gotta wrap it up. I'm sorry.
So, hi guys. So now I would like to get into me and my partner's articles. So my article is about addressing the mental health needs of Buffalo's Black and brown communities. The May 14th mass shooting has raised questions about trauma in the Black community and what other factors were at play, even before the shooting. 5 days after the racially motivated shooting in which 10 people were killed, investigators announced they were turning the scene over to Tops Friendly Markets, Despite the company's promise that Tops will remain in the neighborhood, many in the community expressed mixed feelings about returning to the store to shop. A few expressed feelings of trauma that prompted them to urge the store to be torn down completely. Others explained they wanted their store back because of the importance to the community and the convenience in comparison to other grocery stores. The event has raised questions about trauma in the Black community and what other factors were at play even before the shooting. This trauma, this tragedy, has really caused the revelation, the Reverend Paul J. Thomas told Karis Belger. Thomas is the pastor and a presiding elder at the historic Bethel AME Church on Michigan Avenue in Buffalo. He says there's more than just the trauma of the shooting to overcome. He points out that the store was in a food desert. While it's closed, Tops is providing a shuttle to another location that's 5 miles away. Reverend Thomas says, even if people didn't want to go back, their options will be limited. So these people not only have the trauma of, can I go back to Tops, right? But there are those who don't have that option because they don't have the car, Pastor Thomas said. The lack of resources also leads to other stressors which mirror other things that frequently come up in Black and brown communities.
How adults can help improve the mental health of Black youth.
We have to engage and deal with the mental health crisis, which is a result of all the atrocities that have been placed on minority people in this country, Pastor Thomas said. Erie County has stepped in the interim. The county is offering free mental health counseling services at the Johnny B. Wiley Stadium until May 27th. The service area offered from 1 p.m. until 9 p.m. daily. The location is only a few minutes away from the Tops Jefferson by car. The idea was to make the services convenient for people in the community to access, even if they didn't have reliable transportation. Kelly Wolford, the director of the Office of Health Equity, says addressing mental health needs is just one step in addressing the overall health needs of the community. When we talk about health, when we talk about mental health, we talk about physical health, Wolford said. Wolford also explains acknowledging when you're struggling is an important step. Being okay with saying that I'm not okay, removing the stigma to mental health, to barriers to physical health. Like Wolford Pastor Thomas says, addressing these concerns are key to truly understanding the community and people who make it. We have to shower our communities with resources, mental health resources, educational resources, financial resources, and mobility resources. Things along those lines, Pastor Thomas said.
All right, so in the mental health space, this is about to be a lot. So as you all know, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. If you didn't know, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. So Black youth are facing more mental health concerns than ever. As adults, it's important to listen to them and direct them to seek help. Being young can be hard as is. Hormones, life choices can impact the mental health of any child. The Adolescent Behaviors and Experiences Survey shows that 44% of teens report persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness. Despite this, a 2013 review noted that the Black children in the United States are not as likely to be diagnosed with mental health conditions. Also, Black teens with mental health conditions are less likely to seek treatment, though they are more likely to experience higher rates of depressive moods, according to a 2019 study. The global COVID-19 pandemic has both helped and hindered this statistic. While the state of Black youth and their mental health seem discouraged, there are always ways you can help. In 2019, the Congressional Black Caucus created an emergency task force to help address unclear data, including suicide in Black youth. According to the CBC, data shows that the current generation of Black teens and children have higher rates of suicide than previous generations. And the 2021 Mental Health in American report states that this rate is increasing faster than any other ethnic group. However, historical data showed that Black youth died by suicide at lower rates. Though black youth experience similar mental health challenges as their non-black peers, the American Academy of Pediatrics named racism as one of the leading causes of mental health concerns that black youth face. According to a 2020 study, black teens may experience up to 5 instances of discrimination per day on average. That is a lot. Research from 2015 shows that interactions like this can lead to a higher rates of depression. Despite these findings, a 2016 study found that black youth are still half as likely as their white counterparts to seek help for mental health. Moreover, when black youth seek mental health treatment, data shows that their mental health concerns are often misdiagnosed. A Rutgers University study suggests that black Americans who have severe depression are more likely to be misdiagnosed with schizophrenia. Another study shows that black youth ranging in age from kindergarten through the 8th grade are more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD than other races. But studies show that racial bias and a lack of cultural competency causes mixed diagnoses. School to prison pipeline. Discrimination that black teens may face daily often comes from bullying from their peers, but sometimes it may come from either conscious or unconscious bias from adults. According to a Yale University research brief, teachers may keep a more watchful eye on black students even when the student is preschool age. A 2018 report states that black children are also likely to be punished more harshly for the same behaviors as their white classmates. This perpetrates the school-to-prison pipeline, or the instance that youth are more likely to be incarcerated after consistently experiencing harsh school punishments. For grade school, or for those of you who are in school or who have been in school, by a show of hands, when you were disciplined, ISS, you guys familiar with in-school suspension? So, for example, when I was in grade school, like a lot of times, it could be something as you joking with your friends. It's like you're sending me home for out of school, but somebody else may get a warning. So you get enough of those write-ups, then it kind of, that sort of thing. Why aren't black youth seeking treatment? Although black youth aren't as likely to get mental health treatment as their non-black peers, it is not because they don't need it. According to a 2010 study, when 465 ninth grade black students were surveyed, half reported having mental health needs, but only 20% received treatment. Many factors may contribute to black youth seeking help less often than their peers. And then there's the cultural stigmas. The CBC Task Force report notes that black youth, especially black boys, tend to seek mental health treatment as a last resort treatment as they fear they may be ridiculed by their friends and loved ones. The report states that black youth may fear that their friends will tease them for having mental health concerns, and family will encourage them to keep their problems hidden from outsiders. Then there's distrust in the healthcare systems. The same report also states a cultural mistrust in healthcare systems that keeps black youth from seeking help for their mental health. The report calls for the need for culturally competent therapists and mental health professionals to better assist the patients who are in underrepresented groups. A difference in expressing symptoms. According to the CBC Task Force, black youth may not always vocalize their mental health concerns like their white peers do, leading to a lack of proper treatment. In many cases, black youth will experience symptoms of depression by having behavioral or conduct issues. In other cases, black youth may show somatic symptoms or physical symptoms such as a stomach ache. How COVID-19 has affected mental health amongst black youth. COVID-19 has added complex layers to the daily lives of individuals across the world. Young, old, rich, poor, we're all in this. The pandemic forced businesses and schools to close or operate virtually for an extended period of time. This allowed people, especially youth, to spend more time with their families. But a 21 study showed that some black youth experienced negative emotions toward their social lives being impacted and and the need to switch to virtual school environments amidst the pandemic. Black youth also experience discomfort in leaving their homes and risking the potential of getting themselves or their loved ones sick. The racial disparities during COVID-19 and all of this, in addition to the change in social environments that Black youth have been experiencing during the pandemic. They also encountered the added health disparities that many Black, Indigenous, and people of color experience. According to the CDC, inequalities that may have contributed to the increased rates of coronavirus infections in our communities, discrimination, inaccessibility to health care, gaps in education and wealth, housing inequalities, some of the things to highlight, a part of this, the racial disparities. Also, in a research study earlier this year, shows that Indigenous, Pacific Islander, and Black Americans had the highest mortality rates for COVID-19. Black Americans account for 14.3% of COVID deaths nationwide, although Black people only account for 12.9% of the total population in the United States. Mandates have been helpful despite the change in social environments and the disproportionate rates at which Black people and Indigenous people of color have been affected by COVID-19. Some research suggests that stay-at-home mandates during the pandemic may have been helpful for some youth. A 2021 study, though focused largely on Hispanic youth, showed evidence that better family functioning contributed to lower mental health symptoms in youth, especially for youth who experienced significant mental health challenges before the pandemic. So how can adults help? Black children can encounter a high amount of mental stress, so it's important to let them know that they're not alone and that someone is willing to step in and help them when they need it. Talk with your children. Try to speak with your children regularly regarding these things. I know we're all working, we're doing a lot. We don't really, it's not the generation of family dinners, but, game night, things like that. So this will also give you time to watch for any of the signs of distress. That's another key thing. Mental health, the signs, being aware of what is a mental health event or something, being aware. According to a Mental Health America, some signs to look out for that of a child may be including a mental health challenge, can include problems with concentration or memory, appetite changes, feelings of sadness, emptiness, or worthlessness, extreme panic or worry, restlessness or change in sleeping habits, lost interest in hobbies or activities, hearing or seeing things that others don't, or other new repetitive behaviors. And some behaviors may signal more serious mental health complications, such as suicidal thoughts. These can also include obsession with the subject of death, increased use of drugs and alcohol or risky behaviors, increased use of drugs and or alcohol along with risky behaviors or violent behaviors, little or no interest in the future, and drastic change in personality. Have open conversations about seeking help. Having conversations concerning mental health and leaving room for your child to ask questions about how they're feeling is crucial. Conversations could be more about mental health itself, or that they could be factors that cause mental health challenges such as racism. And try not to be afraid to ask your child the hard questions, such as if they're having thoughts of suicide. When speaking with your child, try to be empathetic and reinforce that their feelings aren't their fault and that there's nothing wrong with experiencing negative mental health symptoms. Try to encourage seeking outside help and, if possible, destigmatize the idea of seeking treatment and therapy. Seeking culturally competent therapists is also key. If your child needs therapy, consider seeking a culturally competent therapist equipped to address their mental health concerns about their identity. When looking for a culturally competent therapist, the National Alliance on Mental Illness recommends keeping these questions in mind. Is this therapist familiar with your child's cultural beliefs and values? Are they willing to learn more about your child's cultural beliefs and or values? Do they have experience treating patients with your child's cultural background? Have they had cultural competency training? How do they plan to include cultural aspects in therapy sessions and plans? Are they familiar with your child's language or dialect? What else can be done? Other resources and steps that you can try to help Black youth with mental health concerns include, for the adults, because there's a lot of you out there watching and listening, make sure your children are screened for anxiety. According to the U.S. Preventative Service Task Force, children should be now screened for anxiety by healthcare professionals as early as 8 years old. They are also recommended children 12 years or older be screened for depression. Offer support for grieving and mourning. A 21 report showed that 1 in 500 children lost a parent to COVID-19, coupled with the isolation that some children may have felt from stay-at-home orders. It's important to allow children a way to grieve healthy. Look out for signs of mental health concerns in the classroom. Children spend a large portion of their lives in school. It may be helpful for teachers and other adults to monitor children for signs and negative mental health symptoms and alert caregivers and school counselors if possible when necessary. There are also different hotline and solutions you could reach out to. I know during the pandemic, depending on your provider or your health care, some insurance companies have offered free counseling and mental health services during the pandemic, and they're waiving the copay. So that's something that you can ask your provider about if that's a service that's available. And just ask the questions. That is our article. That was a lot to chew on, a whole lot. So I'm actually changing my question. Anybody could come up if you guys want to share. How has mental health been addressed in your circle? Anybody ever have those discussions or any solutions or how we deal with mental health in the community?
Okay, so before y'all say something, I just want to say something really quick, addressing the question. So my answer to the question is that it's not addressed in our circle. Well, of course, this one is addressed. But outside of NAN, it's not really addressed. Like, my friends don't talk about it. I'm pretty sure my friends go through mental health issues, as we all do some point in our life. But it's not addressed. And, when we see people outside that may have mental health issues, we probably mistake it for something else. We could be seeing a person that's on drugs, and we could be seeing a homeless person, but we're not thinking about it like, oh, this person has mental health issues. We're thinking, oh, I don't want this person to get near me because he or she is dirty, no, this and that. But really, all of those people that are in that predicament have went through something pertaining to a mental health issue. So I think this needs to be addressed more, because it seems that a lot of the youth are too good to address it, or they feel that it doesn't need to be addressed because whatever they think is what they think. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, come on up.
Hello. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder 1 when I was 16. But then I got incarcerated when I was 22. And they doctors said that I was manic-depressant. Manic-depressant is a chemical imbalance. See, marijuana, it stops. Like, they use marijuana, the pill, or the actual marijuana weed. So if you, see, I have anxiety, PTSD. So you could go to your doctor and say that it helps you with your sleeping, and it helps you with your appetite and your chronic, because I got chronic asthma, and I used to play football, basketball, so I got different type of injuries. So a lot of people don't know about mental health, and it need to be spoken about. That's why, as in the household, as when the couple of times I was speaking, that as a man, we was brought up not to cry. And we want to know why, because we human. Why we can't cry? Oh, we got to be tough. Tough love. But then that's when we don't know how to deal with our emotions and our feelings. And then when our female friends or our significant other, like, what's wrong? Nothing wrong. Nothing, because we can handle it. We tough enough. We men. We have a feminine side and a masculine side. 23 chromosomes from the female, 23 chromosomes from the male, which makes 46 chromosomes. That's biology.
I feel like, well, in my circle, I go to a diverse school. So there's like black kids, there's white kids, Hispanic kids, Asian, and we definitely, like in my group of friends, we definitely talk about it. We definitely talk about depression, we definitely talk about mental health, depression, anxiety. I have anxiety. I've never been diagnosed with anxiety, but I know that I have it. I know that I get anxious around certain things, around certain topics. And my friends are very like welcoming. They like help me with some of that stuff. So we definitely talk about it in my group. And I feel like with COVID, like with the pandemic, that like triggered a lot of that more, or like people like found out like they were dealing with a lot of issues that they didn't know that they had. So I feel like coming back to school, like seeing your friends, there was like a welcoming space for you to talk about those issues with your friends. So I feel like in my space in school, it's definitely like talked about. So yeah.
Yeah, so I just told you I will be 71 years old and new this Thursday. But it also indicates I've been living a long time. And in my youth, I've had the experience of learning about racism. I had the honor of being taught by Professor Clark, Dr. Ben, heard Malcolm X, I heard Farrakhan, I heard Sharpton, I heard other people in my neighborhood. So for the most part, I've been a thinker generally anyway. But in understanding the tactics of races, same old, same old. So what I knew for me, what I thought of me mattered more than anybody else. And that's the reality. I knew some of the strategies to really make me feel less than. I fought against that big time. I remember helping my sister. She's more sensitive, she's younger than me. But I want to share this with you, she wouldn't mind. But she was upset somebody called her conceited. It was a heavy word back then. And I said to her, well, that only means your mother's taking good care of you. So I learned how to switch it up. You know, this whole saying, they did this because we're black. No, they did it because they're not black. I switch it up. Switch it up. Switch it up. So when my self-esteem on my own level, I had people say, well, people don't respect you. I say, I respect me. Well, you're the only one. I say, that's enough. That's enough. So we learn to just flip it and understand what is happening. The brothers talk about disparities. It's part of the game of racism. It's going to be a lot of disparities. They're still trying to do it. We got to be less dependent on them. But and also, an answer to some of the problems that could be resolved more effectively based on culture is the black church. They could step up and do a whole lot more. A whole lot more. Because within that environment, there's spiritual counseling, which really feeds the soul and really help you think better yourself, knowing who God is and your relationship to God. That helps a great deal. That helped me, even to this very day, every day. So there's solutions. But I want the young people in particular to know, I don't know if you can really shake it off. I pray that you're able to, but understand it's part of the racist game and don't buy into it. Don't be surprised that it's still happening, but we know what it is. We know what it is. See you later, bye. Don't absorb it. Deflect it if you can. And God bless you all.
God bless. Thank you, sister.
Hi, I'm Gina Williams. Yes, I'm Gino's mom. I'm also Youth Huddle mom. I'm the chairperson for the Education Committee. I'm a CEC 5 rep, which is the Community Education Council. I just walked in the door, I apologize. Mental health. So, mental health is a heavy topic, especially right now because of COVID, because of the amount of violence that's going on. What I do want to say about mental health are these key topics right here. So back in, I guess, maybe the 60s, 70s, when heroin was at its height. And then it came the crack epidemic. And so, unfortunately, when people were conceiving babies, a lot of people are not aware that those toxins go into the fetus early, just like alcoholism, right? And so it is known as substance abuse with mental health issues. So that means a substance created a mental health imbalance. And then there is in reverse, which is why substances are not good to try. Don't let curiosity get the best of you, because then it is mental health that was brought on by substance abuse. So I want to say this. Right now, David Banks is very big right now on mental health awareness in all the schools. There are counselors. It's nothing to be ashamed about, all right? If you're starting to, sometimes we don't know the signs or the symptoms, but if you're woo-woo-woo, agitated a little, nervous, heart racing, those are symptoms of anxiety attacks. The other thing is that sometimes our environment will bring on mental health issues. For instance, when a person can be bullied, they feel like they always have to fight. Sometimes that brings on schizophrenia, which is later on developed, usually in the teen years. However, if you're feeling any type of sadness, or if you feel yourself being sad and then all of a sudden you have a burst of energy and you're running all over the place, that's a manic stage, okay? So we have to be aware, but I'm going to encourage you to definitely seek the counselors. Sometimes we're not willing to talk about these things. So pull someone who you trust to the side, seek the counselor, buy into healthy relationships with your parents. And even here at Huddle, there's a lot of Huddle moms. You know, we're a Huddle family. Pull someone to the side and say, hey, I think I really need to talk to someone. But the school system is big on that at present. I'm going to encourage you. What I will say is this. There's a lot of medications out. So with medications, you have to be careful of side effects. Those side effects can create a worse disturbance than what we know about. So besides death is the most fatal, but sometimes it can exacerbate your mental health as well. So with that being said, let's take care of ourselves. One more thing, I'm gonna give you the mic. Take time out for yourself. Take time out for yourself and take a break and pull back for a moment, because balance is most important, and healthy diet. Thank you.
Thank you, G. So I'm gonna be brief because she spit. She spit everything. You gotta come back and do a whole lesson. But I will say, I'm older than y'all, or the youth here. The rest of y'all know. But I grew up in the church, and I just wanted to say, parents and elders, if a young person has an issue, if they say I'm depressed, like if they say I'm depressed, I don't think that you should say you're not, or go to sleep, or you're just doing too much. Don't label yourself, because there was times in Damo, there was times in me, myself, there was times in my friends, like we grew up in the church and they would say, oh, I think, something's wrong, like whatever. And they're like, oh, no, go to God. You don't do that. So I understand, I'm not doubting the power of God. I love that. That's the most powerful, that's the greatest thing in my life. But mental illness is real, mental health is real, anxiety, all of that is real. And you don't know what anybody is going through. We all have different circumstances. We all have different body systems, everything. So what I will say is be kind. I will say listen to each other, and not just adults to children. Children listen to adults. You don't know what adults are going through. You don't know, just because somebody's older does not mean that they are mentally stable. Especially coming into the National Network, and I'm saying this as a social justice, I grew up here. It's not Nan that I'm saying that is crazy, right? And that's another thing, the stigma of crazy. People like, oh, they're acting weird, so that's crazy. Mental illness, sometimes you won't even never know what it is. There's different types, there's different breaks, there's so many different types, and for you to just judge it by appearance, by somebody might be on the corner, and that might be just a drug overdose. That's not mental illness.
So you're prejudging, and we should be more loving, more patient, more aware. I do encourage, and I salute to God, because this conversation with mental health, he helped to start that, especially in our community with those books. Now, others have jumped on, and that's great, but we should all do more work as a community, especially with each other in the social justice space, because it's not talked about enough here. Imagine, I'm gonna just say this and leave it here. Reverend Sharpton alone has done 5 funerals that I went with him to for people that he never met. I have to do the social media for those funerals. I do not know those families. I do not know those people. I just know that somebody's life was taken because they don't value us, right? You go into a funeral in a family and you don't know any of them. It's disrespectful to put your phone up and tape the body, but that's my job. Reverend Sharpton got to preach that. To think about a eulogy for a stranger, for like police brutality over and over again, you don't think that does something to somebody's mental? You don't think that does something to somebody to spend your life fighting for something against an injustice and not see something come from it? You don't think that does something to somebody's mental? It does. So be patient with people. That man sitting right there saw Malcolm X die. You don't think that did something to his mental? So if he comes up and starts, going a little longer than usual, be patient. Because this is not a normal environment. And we just take it for granted because we're here. We come Monday, you see 4 or 5 people. You don't understand who's even in this room and what they're going through. This is the church for some people. I'm serious. Some people, this is the only place they're understood. And that anxiety is about, it's just thinking no one cares about me, I don't matter. That's all anxiety is. So you just might have to do a little more. Be patient with me. I have anxiety bad. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Everybody in the cabinet knows. I'll be like, look, you coming to me? I might look. Give me some grace. So understand that all around. It's love here, that's the basis, but understanding social justice, mental illness is an issue. And we need to do more about it and learn about it, how to deal with it. All right, I'm done.
Well, coming behind you, Ashley, I don't know. But anyway, in 2012, I had an accident. And having that accident, it took me a little back. So when I went to the doctor said, I think you need to see a therapist. I was like, a therapist? He said, yeah, you need to talk about it and let your feelings out. It's 2022, and I'm still seeing the therapist. All right? And I'm still talking about that accident that happened in 2012. I don't talk about a lot of stuff, but yes, I go to therapy, and it takes me a long way. Trust me. I have patience. She has patience with me. Some of us, we don't know that we need a therapist, but we all need a therapist. You never know who you need. But I just tell people, sometimes you can't talk to your family. Sometimes you cannot talk to your friends. Because people say sometimes judge you. I don't care if you judge me. Only person that can judge me is God. So if each one of y'all need to talk to a counselor at school or whatever, do that, okay? Therapy is real, all right?
So we're going to talk mental health real quick. So I got 2 scenarios about mental health. So I used to be a recreation coordinator in a group home for kids that were LGBTQ, and now it's called T. That used to be in a group home. So whenever you think that you're going through something, it's okay to get help and talk to other people. As a lot of youth, a lot of kids, we don't want to talk about things such as sexuality. There's a lot of things that eat us up in the inside. That's what makes us miserable that we don't want to talk about. I'm going to say it's called a demon. Some people classify it as something else. There's a lot of things that eating up a lot of young people. And I'm going to give you an example. You ever seen a young person? Why so many of us black males are so angry? Any black male in here could tell me that? Why I'm down the street, you cursing, F your mother, suck my you-know-what? Why we got so much animosity as black men going on here? What's the reason for that? Like, why do we think that somebody owes us something because we black? Why does somebody think one minute, why does somebody think they owe us something when we walking down the street? Because a lot of us just got a built-up anger inside of us that we don't know how to get it out. So a lot of us, when they say seeking help, it's okay to seek help. I went through a period with a phase through a lot of stuff. And you don't know who you could talk to, so you just do any kind of stuff. So at 15, I came from a good background. So a lot of you know my story, a lot of you don't. So I came from a good background. I had to see the light for myself. My father was out doing his own thing, had other kids by another woman. My mother was just taking care of me. She was too up on me, so I thought I was a man. You know, I started doing stuff in the street. She sent me to school. I get out of school. I'm in the house. I'm downtown doing stuff I ain't got no business, all kind of stuff. So they put her pins out. A kid needed supervision at that time. So my mother was in law enforcement, so the judge was kind of lenient on me. I was doing all kind of stuff I didn't have no kind of business doing. So I was kind of diagnosed with mental health. I had an orange jumpsuit on and a chain suit for something that I did. I had an orange jumpsuit on with chains. Yeah, I'm little, but I got a story. I've been a lot of places. I don't seen a lot of people. It opened up my eyes. I had to go live in a group home upstate with 30 boys, okay? 30 boys who have a different mindset, who was brought up differently. Some kids' parents left them. Some kids was robbery. Some kids did assault. That was the last resort you did before you really went to jail, whatever the case may be. It was a lockdown facility. You understand what I'm saying? So I was in a place, I knew nobody in there. A white psychologist, they telling me I gotta do this. And I'm a real person. So when I say stuff, we all, like Ashley said, we in a room. I go to a room. If any of y'all got locked up, you gotta bend down, you gotta cough. That was different. You gotta see what's up in your anal. You gotta see what's up if you hiding anything, whatever the case may be. Right, better word. So I go to a lockdown facility. Up is a gate. They lock a gate up. I'm in there getting examined, whatever. I go to a house. They say, you going to this house right now. Can't speak to my mother, can't speak to nobody. Going to a house. 30 boys in a house. I got a roommate. He don't know me. He a blood. He from Brooklyn. And he trying to see what the F I'm about and what's going to go down and how it's going to go down. He trying to feel me if I'm, a punk or whatever the case going to be. So that's a mental state. You got to fight for your clothes. I always have fly stuff. So if you come up there with your clothes, they stealing your clothes. You got to fight for your clothes. The minute you fight, they labeling you as something different. A lot of kids don't know how to speak to anybody. And then I'm going to say something so real, a lot of you are not going to like this. When you in a place like that, a lot of people, sexuality is different for different reasons. Like Ashley said, you can't judge people off of different type of things. You in somewhere with 30 people, 30 boys, there's no girls there. A man is a man. You masturbate, do whatever you need to do to handle your business. You see something else that's there, you need to get what you need to get off. That's between you and that person. A lot of people don't understand that. It's a different type of thing. You understand what I'm saying? Some people, that's a mental state right there. If you don't know how to handle it, you could kill yourself. You dating another man, you doing stuff with another man, that's something serious because you're not supposed to, but things happen. So when you in a state like that, what you supposed to do? You and your roommate, you'll kick it, so what you do? You go downstairs, you gotta maintain. So I'm in there bugging out, I'm mental state, I have a white roommate. My roommate was white at the time. His name was Sean. We didn't know each other. I didn't like him. I didn't know nothing about him. Long story short, I had to go to school. The school is a different type of circumstance. You can't move. Everywhere you go, you have to check. You have to make a phone call. They have to let you know you have 15 minutes on the phone. You can't do nothing. You have to get a parent's permission to come visit you on this lockdown facility. Your parents can only come for a few minutes. They can come leave you. That was messing up my mind state because I didn't know what to do, who to come to. They telling me I need a psychologist to talk about my feelings. I have feelings I needed to get out. And as a black man, it was hindering me. It was a demon. Okay, it was a demon. I got something else for y'all to shit. I don't even say, y'all can say whatever. I'm a real person. In order for me to figure out what I wanted to be, I used to do drag. And that's real, excuse my S-H-I-T. I used to do drag. I used to walk around downtown, cutting school, wearing my mother clothes, wearing mink coats and all that, doing checks, popping checks with Spanish people, dudes, or whatever the case may be, because I didn't know what I wanted to be. I liked girls. I had girls at that time. I had a girlfriend, whatever the case may be, but I was trying to figure me out. You know what I'm saying? So when a man also want to talk about a father not being there, where was y'all at? My mother can't teach me how to play football, baseball. We was downtown. She was getting her nails done. I was in the nail shop with her, hair done every 2 weeks, downtown getting her clothes. There was no man there. Where he was at? Was y'all quick to call somebody a faggot and this, that, and the other? Where you was at? You ain't volunteering and say, yo, let me take little bro David here to go get his hair cut. She ain't there get my hair cut. But y'all men got a lot of nerve to talk about this, that, and the other, but y'all didn't step up. Y'all didn't do nothing. So when you talking about mental health, that messes with somebody's mental state and their mental health when you do that. So you gotta know your history and where you came from. So I had to come out of that. I couldn't do that.
I got busted on 125th Street in a blue fox fur coat with a wig on, with a man's ID, and I'm saying I'm somebody else. Hopping the turnstile on 125th Street in Lenox Avenue. What you doing? Locking me up. In Macy's, shoplifting, locking me up. My mother's an officer, gotta come get me and drag, wearing her shit. Excuse me, wearing her stuff. Listen, it's real. I'm in there with her stuff on. I gotta go. How that look for her and me? She got a son. She don't want her son to, you know what I'm saying? So when I say mental state, y'all gotta understand. Y'all gotta be prepared. Y'all can't judge people. You have to help one another. Y'all see somebody falling down? Y'all have to help somebody. We all ain't no, and you're clapping, but it's real. We not perfect. We all judge, we all gossip, we all share a little tea. That's normal. We all normal. But y'all gotta be there for one another. Y'all gotta understand somebody's story. Somebody a little softer than you, all right? That's all right. But you gotta understand it's a difference between somebody warning you and you're playing your ball field. There's a lot of people who like to play. Don't do that. Be real with yourself. And that's all I'm gonna say. We continue to know, but be real with yourself. Mentally, be prepared mentally, psychology. Love yourself, take care of yourself. Thank you.
I just wanted to say something that I was a peer educator. Well, I am a peer educator, and I did the Pearls curriculum, and I agree with him. And it's diversity. Don't say black, Chinese. It's diversity.
Wait, one more thing. So when you talk about real people, one more thing. Kathy, Ashley, and Dominique see me in my state of form. They came up there to a lockdown facility I was in. Came to my graduation. Dominique actually was my prom dates. They seen how it was up there for me. So when you see me around, or I'm not always involved, those was my hearts. They was there when I was in a state where I didn't know what I was doing. They came me, hold me down. They came up there. So when you see talking about real people, that's real. When somebody see you when you down in the ground, and then when you get up, you could grow up organically and get your wings sprouted. I'm just all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
You know, for my story, it's a lot more different. You know, I have been raised by two immigrant parents that number one was just to, you know, go back home, make sure you're good, because, you know, I'm most of the oldest, so I also had a lot of pressure to make sure that my siblings are good. And so it definitely affected me. And even like this summer, I'll actually be taking therapy. And the reason why I felt like it was important for me to say that is because, you know, a lot of people, when I told people that, they're like, you need therapy? Like, you sure? Like, you out here doing the X, Y, and Z? Like, you look fine. Nah. There was times in my dorm, like, I literally didn't leave my room. Times I missed class, I just didn't feel like getting up. And, like, I just wanted to show, like, it doesn't matter who it is. It could really be the person left of you, right of you. It's just you just got to be able to check on everyone. You know what I'm saying? Someone that you haven't heard from in a minute, just